Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Race to the White House. I am Nivedita Varadarajan. The US has many points of interest in South Asia. In this two-part interview with Suhasini Haidar, the national editor and diplomatic affairs editor The Hindu, we discuss what another Trump term or a new Biden administration could mean for the region. I asked Suhasini the importance of the Indian community and how the group can influence this presidential election. This is what she had to say.
Certainly. And I think, Indian Americans, of course, as you said, the number of the eligible voters may be 1.3 million. There are 4.5 million Indian Americans. So these are American citizens in the US. And while that isn't a huge number, they are seen as a very, very prominent and fastest rising minority, if you like, simply because, for many reasons, in the same way that all Asian Americans are counted, because they have higher education, they have higher incomes as a result of that, and also that they are now, especially Indian Americans, becoming more and more politically aware, getting more and more involved in politics. We now have four Indian Americans in the US Congress, one in the Senate, and we're seeing at every level now that Indian American candidates are part of the mainstream, if you like. You talk about Indian origin governors like Nikki Haley and Bobby Jindal. You have Kamala Harris herself of an Indian extraction. So the prominence that the Indian American community now has in American politics is certainly much more than it used to be. You mentioned the battleground states. I think it's important, actually, that not only is it in the normal traditional areas where you see large Indian communities, which is the East Coast and the West Coast, so New York and California, which are predominantly Democrat in any case. But where Indians are making a difference is in states with smaller populations otherwise. So Florida, for example, which is of course one of the big game changer states as it's known, places like Pennsylvania, North Carolina. Even though the Indian community, Indian American community may be 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 in these places, they are enough to be able to swing the vote. So this time you're seeing a much bigger focus on them.
Another topic Suhasini and I spoke about was the relationship both candidates have with India. Trump and Narendra Modi, our Prime Minister, have a good relationship. Biden has also had a long history of friendship with India. He was one of the early proponents of the Indo-US nuclear deal.
That's
In
right.
that way, how will the potential Biden administration take a stand when it comes to issues that matter for Indians?
It is interesting, Nivedita, that we are looking at two candidates, both of which actually India has some experience of now. So we're looking at Trump, who has been president for the last 4 years, and we are looking at Biden, who was Vice President Biden from 2008 to 2016. While those were not Mr. Biden's policies, those were President Obama's policies, the fact is that as vice president, he was definitely a part of that. So we're not expecting to see a major shift when Biden comes to power in terms of how they behave with India and how they see India from the past. If you look at both of those, there is it's almost a cliche now to talk about the bipartisan consensus for better ties with India. As you pointed out, Senator Biden had a major role to play in trying to break the logjam at one point over the Indo-US civilian nuclear deal. He has been a proponent. He actually came out with a document specifically for Indian Americans. He has made certain statements when it comes to the H-1B, for example, which is a visa in the US that affects Indians more than anyone else, and said that he's going to liberalize this, whereas the Trump administration has taken many steps to sort of cut down some of to increase the restrictions on immigration. Now, you mentioned President Trump and the kind of push he's made for relations with India. Let's remember at every stage, he has made a point of engaging India, of engaging Prime Minister Modi, right from when he talked about his South Asian policy on Afghanistan. We've had a lot of Twitter conversations between the two leaders. President Trump often refers to India in a positive way, in terms of saying, my friend, the Prime Minister of India, or that Indians have been extremely helpful with the US when it came to the coronavirus, for example, making the effort for these two big rallies. Prime Minister Modi almost seemed to be endorsing him last year, although the government backtracked from that when Prime Minister Modi said, Ab ki baar Trump sarkar. We have seen both of them actually work their relationship with India in a slightly different way in terms of what the policies will be, but not in any different way when it comes to the major thrust of the policy.
We also spoke about how the US foreign policy might change in the post-COVID world. Have a listen.
I think the truth is that some things are secular trends. They are trends that are going to go ahead no matter what and no matter what people say. I think it's going to be hard to turn back. In the post-COVID world, it will be hard to turn back some of the protectionist policies, trade-driven policies of the US, simply because this is what every country around the world is doing just in order to get ahead. So you will see, it may not be called Make America Great Again, but it might still have as much emphasis on ensuring that countries lower their tariffs in order to do business with the United States. I don't think that's going away. I think immigration is going to be an issue where governments are going to be cutting down. Even in the Obama administration, we saw that. I think there is going to be no change when it comes to getting tough on China, because this is, again, something that has bipartisan consensus. There's a real desire in the post-COVID world, particularly to hold China accountable, to make sure that China does explain its actions when it comes to coronavirus, as well as its aggressions in other parts. I don't think you'll see a change in that, or in perhaps the push for the Indo-Pacific policy, the military kind of push that we are seeing in the maritime domain. India has also been a part of the Quad. Let's remember that the original statement that came for bringing India and the US together in the India-Pacific, in those days was called the Asia-Pacific, was actually when President Obama visited India.
Now, I think it's safe to say that the Indo-US relationship is set to grow in the coming years, irrespective of who will become the president. That's it for part 1. In part 2, we discuss a wide range of topics from the Afghan peace deal to the growing influence of China in South Asia. So be sure to tune in next week. Until then, this is Nivedita signing off.